welcome again onto the City Gamma. You can see we've left Tower Pier now, and the next stop, Westminster. So we're going to go to Westminster first. We'll be there in about 25 minutes. And then we also go to Waterloo Pier for the London Eye, and it is only a short trip crossing from Westminster to Waterloo. You see the boat in front of us has just left as well. We're going to just wait here and they'll turn around. That boat is going to go to Greenwich, so it's going to turn around, go through Tower Bridge, and they'll be going to Greenwich. So we just wait here while they get out of the way. While we're sitting here, I'll just mention the safety. Like every other passenger boat on the Thames, we come fully equipped with all the up-to-date life-saving equipment. We have to have the life rafts around the outer roof and the top deck. We've got life jackets on board, enough for 400 people. There is nowhere near that many on board today, so there is plenty of life jackets to go around.
Very good, Roshan.
We've got firefighting equipment as well. Just like that boat there, look, you've got the life buoys as well around the outside of the boat. In the unlikely event of any sort of emergency, there'll be announcements that come over this PA system, mainly by myself or my friend driving the boat, but do follow any instruction that's given by any member of crew that you find. Other than that, there is a bar downstairs in the back. Toilets, if you need them, they're at the back of the boat as well. And as you know, we've got the open top deck. You can smoke on the top deck at the back. Now, fitted to the boat, we have a recorded commentary. It's a computer that we can press play. But if you stayed on from Greenwich, as you know, I was doing a live commentary, and I can carry that on all the way to Westminster, if you would like me to. If you'd like me to carry on, that's what I'll do. Would anybody like that if I carry on? Brilliant. That was overwhelming. Maybe a show of hands. Fantastic. Nearly everybody. That's what I did, and hopefully it does add to the journey. Now, looking to your left, you've got these glass office buildings. Of course, years ago, this area just would have been warehouses. From Tower Bridge all the way to the next one, London Bridge. This would have been as far up as the ships could come. Tower Bridge would have opened up for the ships, the large ships, to bring cargo to this area. But the large ships, they had to stop at London Bridge. London Bridge doesn't open. And a London Bridge has stood in front of us in that part of the Thames for 2,000 years. So the ships couldn't go any further than this area. So this is where the larger warehouses would have stood, as far up as the ships could bring cargo to the capital city. Was the shipping shut the warehouses down when larger ships could bring cargo full of goods to the Docklands areas down the Tilbury docks, but the London Gateway now, the container ships, they stop down there. So no goods come here anymore. So you've got now the glass office buildings. The first one to come up, just behind us to your left, shaped like a motorcycle crash helmet. But a lot of people ask what this building is. And this is the offices for Sadiq Khan, the Mayor for Greater London. For the 32 boroughs, there's the Mayor for London, and that is Sadiq Khan. So they built that building for the Mayor for London. It was built for Ken Livingstone. He was replaced by Boris Johnson, and he was replaced by Sadiq Khan, recently re-elected. It cost £30 million to build that building. Make it look like a crash helmet. They couldn't come up with a name for the building, so they paid a separate company £5 million. See, they needed a brilliant name for the building, and they called it City Hall. A brilliant name, City Hall. That's that building to your left. The rest of them, so it's just different offices. A few apartments as well, this area. The area between Tower Bridge and London Bridge is called the London Bridge City. This area is a city within a city. It was all bought by the Kuwaiti royal family. They put billions of pounds into this area. They turned into a city, the London Bridge City. They've got casinos here to your left, there's bars, there's restaurants. Of course, they put most of the money into the shards. Western Europe's tallest building stands to your left, the Shard of Glass. Designed as well to look like something, broken pieces of glass that's fallen from the sky. People come onto these boats, they think the top isn't finished yet, but it is finished. It is supposed to look like that, broken to pieces of glass. But standing just over 1,000 feet. And the warship to your left, it's been on the river, a floating museum since the 70s, but it was a powerful ship years ago. It saw lots of action throughout the Second World War, but last fired the guns in anger during the Korean War campaign. Built in Belfast in Northern Ireland, built in the same shipyard as the Titanic, the ill-fated ship. There's 9 levels though, you go in every single room, right through the engine rooms to the top. The captain's wheel box on top. Here to your right, this is this country's customs and excise. That's the large building behind the trees. So Her Majesty's Customs and Excise building. You've then got the sandy coloured building to your right. This is the old Billingsgate fish market. This building, it was once the world's largest fish market. Right up until the 80s, they moved the market to Canary Wharf. Nowadays, the fish are on the roof, the weather vanes at the top. This is mainly now used for events. So not a fish market anymore, mainly an events building, but a famous fish market years ago. Billingsgate fish market.
Canary Wharf's fish market.
Looking behind those buildings, you've got the tall buildings in the capital. The one closest to us with the curved roof. We like to point it out, at the top is the balcony, and this is a viewing area. It's called Sky Garden London. It goes over 2 floors, but in there, it's the world's largest rooftop garden. So it's an indoor rooftop garden. But you've got the balcony at the front, there's a restaurant as well up there, there's a bar, but you visit free of charge. You can book a ticket online and you go for free. Sky Garden. So it's definitely, I recommend that building. So you save yourself money, you get views over London. Sky Garden. You can go much higher in the Shard. To your left, on the 72nd floor of the Shard, you can visit. But to go to the top of that building, you pay £45 each. So it can get expensive. The top of the Shard, £45 each. Here to your right, there's a column, it's got a golden top. Look through the gap in the buildings. That's the monument to the Great Fire of London. This is Sir Christopher Wren's monument to the fire. They designed it to look like a candle. They believe a candle started the fire in the Royal Bakery on Pudding Lane. The fire, it started on the 2nd of September in 1666, and it spread through the area to your right for 3 days. It took 3 days for the fire to burn out, destroying the capital to your right hand side. You can see that the name written in the stone either side. This is London Bridge. There has been 5 London bridges to stand on the Thames. This bridge was built in 1973. The 4th London Bridge, it was sinking into the mud. They had to take it down. They tore it down, and the pieces of the bridge was sold to an American businessman called Robert McCulloch. He bought the bridge for $2 million, and he moved the bridge to America. They rebuilt the 4th London Bridge in Arizona as a tourist attraction. So rebuilt in America, Lake Havasu City, in the Arizona desert, to the 4th London Bridge. To your left, you've got the pirate ship, a working replica to Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind. It's a real-life pirate ship, a full working replica to Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind. It's a museum in the dock, it's a tourist attraction, but the replica here has sailed the world twice. This is the Cannon Street Railway Bridge. Underneath the bridge to your right, you've got the row of glass windows. There's nobody in there today, but this is a spa and a sauna. So you do go past here and see half-naked people. Built underneath the bridge thinking nobody could see in. They forget about the boats that go past every day. Some days are better than others, as you can imagine. Some days you wish you never looked, but other days it does get good. You've also got the barge sitting in the water here to your right. You've got the grey boxes inside the barge. The tugs, they work over the high water. So when the tide is high, a tug will pick that barge up from the river wall, take it down the Thames. Inside those grey boxes is London's rubbish. Their household waste. They compress it, they pack it into the containers, and the containers, they're loaded into the barge. The tugs, they take it out. You can imagine that taking the lorries off of the streets. The barges, they're double stacked with the containers. Thousands of tons of rubbish took down the river every single day, just to take the lorries off of the streets. London's rubbish is dumped about 5 miles away. About 5 miles behind us, they dump the rubbish. It's in a place called Essex. That is where they dump that rubbish, in the Rainham in Essex, about 5 miles away. Here to your left, you've got the white round building. It's got the thatched roof. William Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. A replica to the original Globe Theatre. Stood here in the 1500s. Destroyed, the original, destroyed in 1599. The original theatre, it burnt down. Not during the Great Fire of London, that was the area to your right. The original theatre, destroyed during a play. They used a cannon as a prop. The cannon backfired and it burnt the theatre down. There is 2 plays a day, every single day. In the replica, all the way through the summer, you can watch one of William Shakespeare's plays. You can pick up a guided tour as well. You can see the sign at the front. It takes you round that replica to the original Globe Theatre. But it is brilliant to watch a play in there. You'll get a standing ticket for £5, so it's good value for money as well. For live entertainment, the standing ticket, £5. This is the Millennium Footbridge, built in the year 2000. It was in the Harry Potter films. You might recognise it from those films. You also might know it as the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. When they opened the bridge, so many people walked across it that the bridge started to bounce. See, they found out on the opening day the bridge was too light. So it bounced with the footsteps and the wind picked up and it started to move the bridge. The people that were walking across, they started to run. It picked up momentum and it started to violently sway side to side. You wouldn't believe how much it was moving. You look on YouTube, you'll see footage from that opening day. They closed it, it was evacuated by the nickname the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. Look to your right, St Paul's Cathedral, Sir Christopher Wren's masterpiece. It stands 365 feet, so 1 foot to the tip of the Golden Cross, built for every day of the year. And it took 35 years to build, finished in 1710. Stands alone in the capital, the tallest building around it. By law, you still can't build above the cathedral in this area. They say still by law they can't cast a shadow on the cathedral. So it's the tallest building around. This is the Blackfriars Railway Bridge. The second one along, the Blackfriars Road Bridge. 2 bridges close together. A few years ago there was 3 bridges that stood here. You see the columns of the 3rd bridge in the middle? The red columns, they're the remains of a railway bridge. It used to carry steam trains into London. It became unsafe, they removed the top, but they left the red columns. So they took off the top, they said it was starting to crumble away, couldn't take the weight of modern day trains, they couldn't remove the columns, they said it would upset the foundations for the other 2 bridges, so they left them here. More work taking place for the sewage system being built here to your right. That tideway tunnel being built underneath the river. So that's the work taking place. The building to your right with the green steeped roof, that building was the City of London School for Boys. This was where a lot of this country's past politicians, members of parliament spent early education. It's not a school anymore, this is a bank today. This is a wealthy American bank, JP Morgan. They like a lot of the nicer, the older buildings in the city, and they took over by the banks. So that one, JP Morgan. Here to your left, you've got the red brick building. This is the Oxo Tower, an iconic building in London. You've got the tower at the top. You see the letters spell out OXO. And of an evening time, the letters, they shine out red across London. So a well-known building, the Oxo Tower. This was run by the Oxo Company years ago. This building was a warehouse. It's where they used to make the stock cube, which you might have heard of before, the Oxo stock cube. You can see it's apartments today, they make the stock cube in Lancashire today. They don't make it in London anymore. You've got the apartments. The top floor of that building, there's a popular restaurant, the Harvey Nichols restaurant, the Oxo Tower. Coming up to your right, you've got a stone archway. This is called a Temple Arch or Temple Gate. Just next to the ship, it's coming up, you've got the stone arch with the face in the middle. This is a boundary line to the capital city. Now you are now leaving the City of London. You leave the capital behind you. The area, it becomes the City of Westminster. The City of London is only 1 square mile. From Tower Bridge to Temple Gate, that's the capital behind you. And then you've got Greater London, which is the larger area that surrounds the two cities. The City of London, which is mainly a banking district, and you've got the City of Westminster, which is for the politics. So the two cities, the small areas, and then the larger area, Greater London, the 32 boroughs. Here to your right, that ship, that's called the Wellington, part of the New Zealand Navy years ago. They brought it to the Thames, it's been put here. It's a livery hall for the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. So it was put there for retired sea captains. You've got another ship a bit further along. This one is the St. Catherine, and it used to be the Royal Barge. So every time a member of royalty came on the Thames, this is the boat they would have used, the St. Catherine, the old Royal Barge. The concrete building to your left, that's the National Theatre. That building gets voted year after year the ugliest building here in London. You can see why a concrete, horrible building to your left, but it is supposed to be the country's national theatre. Now, a very different building inside. In the building, there's 3 theatres, and they're some of the best in the country, but the outside does let it down. This bridge, this is the Waterloo Bridge, built during the Second World War. The men, during the construction, they were called away to war. The construction of the bridge, it was took over by the women. The ladies, they stayed at home, and they built this bridge, an 80% female workforce, built during the Second World War. So built through hard times by the ladies of London. And they called it the Ladies' Bridge on the Thames. Built by the women, the Ladies' Bridge. I'm sure a lot of people here is staying in the hotel to your right, the building of the green flat roof. That's the Savoy, the Strand, a famous London hotel. To stay in the rooftop section, it's about £11,000 a night. Very expensive to stay at the top, the rooftop section. Maybe with your cameras you've got Cleopatra's Needle to your right. 3,500 years old, carved in Egypt, the needles carved in pairs, the twin in Central Park, New York City. So carved in pairs. The other one in America, Central Park. This one given as a gift from the Egyptian government. For Lord Nelson's victories at the Battle of the River Nile, so our help, they give us the needle. The gift, Cleopatra's needle. The last bridge on your journey is this one. This is the Charing Cross Railway Bridge. Either side of the railway line, there's walkways. These are the golden Jubilee bridges. If there's anybody on the bridge, give them a little wave. They will like to wave back. Sometimes they will throw things at the boat, so wave and smile. They say if you get a wave back, you get 5 years of the bad luck. Which is a shame, but there is a bridge on the other side. As you can imagine, you heard the train going across a busy railway bridge. You've got the West End to your right, so the trains feed the West End. So you might be looking for somewhere to eat or drink later on. You might be going to a theatre. This is where you go, the West End of London, to your right. Covent Garden, Oxford Street, you've got Leicester Square. It's a good of an evening time. So here to your right hand sides. Looking up to your left, you've got the London Eye. Easily one of London's most popular tourist attractions. Built in the year 2000, they say it's carried 60 million people. It is a brilliant way to see London quickly, as it is only a 30-minute trip. The views at the top, you'll get about 40 miles across. So on a good clear day, a brilliant way to see London quickly on this wheel. And I'm sure most of you have either been there or you're planning to while you're here. Now there is 32 glass pods. Every single pod was put there to represent one of the 32 London boroughs. So each pod represents one of the areas of Greater London. It stands 452 feet tall. The London Eye has become the most popular place in Europe for marriage proposals. Used to be the Eiffel Tower, but nowadays that's so romantic on this wheel. That's now the best place to do it. And they say the best part of it to propose at the top, the 12 o'clock position, while you are looking across. So gentlemen, if you're feeling romantic, you're thinking of proposing while you're here, why not take on the London Eye? It's a nice place to do it. You really do need to make sure they are going to say yes. Because imagine it, you're up there with about 20 people, you get down on one knee, you ask them to marry you, they say no. A very long, awkward 15 minutes to the bottom. The longest of 15 minutes of your life, so be careful, make sure they say yes. Also to your left, you've got the County Hall for London. This large building is now a Marriott hotel, but it was built for the Greater London Assembly. But underneath that Marriott hotel, you've got the aquarium, the Sea Life Aquarium, you've got the Shrek's Adventure, the London Dungeons, that's all underneath that Marriott hotel to your left. This bridge in front of us, this is Westminster Bridge. This is the second oldest bridge to stand on the Thames. Before they had this bridge, the only way to get across this river, you had to go across the London Bridge. You had to pay to go across that London Bridge as well. You either got in a boat or you paid to go across London Bridge. Right up until the 1800s, there was only one bridge on this river, London Bridge. Nowadays, there is 32 bridges. On the tidal part of the Thames, the 95-mile tidal section, there is 32 bridges. You pass through, I think, 7 to get here, but all the way up to Teddington Lock is 32 bridges. The entire length of this river is 215 miles, but this is that 95-mile tidal section. If we were to carry on going all the way to Teddington, you get to Teddington Lock, you go through that lock, and there's just over 100 miles of non-tidal Thames through Teddington Lock. Look at the Parliament building in front of us to your right. This is the seat to the British government. The Parliament building opened up 1852 by Queen Victoria. To celebrate Queen Victoria's 60th year on the throne, they named the tower furthest away the Victoria Tower, so celebrating her Diamond Jubilee. And to celebrate Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee, they named the clock tower the Elizabeth Tower. The official name for that clock tower, the Elizabeth Tower. So there are two towers of the building, named after this country's longest reigning monarchs. That clock tower used to be called the St Stephen's Clock and Tower, but they changed it to the Elizabeth Tower for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Everybody thinks that clock tower is called Big Ben. Big Ben is the bell inside. So everybody thinks it's the clock tower, but it is the bell. The 13.5-ton bell that would normally chime the hour. Big Ben has always been just a nickname for the bell inside. Big Ben has been silent while they've been working on the building, which is a shame really. A lot of people do come to the area, they like to hear the bell chime. But while the work has been there for health and safety, with the scaffolding around the tower, the bell has been silent. They chime it for special occasions. They'll clear the tower of the workers, they'll chime midnight New Year's Eve, a few other occasions throughout the year. But other than that, so it is silent here at Westminster. The bell was named after a man called Benjamin Hall. Sir Benjamin, at the time of construction, he was the boss. He was the man in charge. They said he did such a good job, he was doing a good job, they wanted to name something after him. Sir Benjamin, he stood at 5 feet tall, but he also stood about 5 foot round. They said he looked like a bell, so they named that bell after him. Sir Benjamin, they say he was Big Ben. That nickname stuck, but everybody thinks it is the tower, but it is the bell inside. You can see, look, we're just getting into the pier. See the people waiting for us to get into the pier, so I'll finish this up. Hopefully you have all enjoyed it. I hope the commentary does add to the journey. We do have a recorded system fitted to every one of the sightseeing boats. You may have heard it on a different boat earlier, but we share it out throughout the day. We try our best to give you a commentary, hopefully, so it does make your journey a little bit better when we do this than when we leave you listening to that computer system. For the commentary, we leave a little champagne bucket by the exit gate. Our traditional little tip bucket, we leave it by the door if you have enjoyed the few words. Our traditional champagne tip bucket. We just leave it at the exit gate if you enjoyed it. Everything we collect in our little bucket doesn't go to waste. You really don't need to worry. Everything goes to the research that we carry out. In about an hour's time, just over an hour when we finish work, we research this commentary for hours. And me and my friend, we do our research in one of the very old riverside pubs on the Thames, where we gather up as much research as we can, so we can do another commentary tomorrow. But whatever the outcome, thank you all again. Enjoy whatever you are doing this evening. If you have any questions, just ask as you get off. Thank you very much. Thank you.